Hello, everyone. Meena Puri here from Ayurvedic Healing Center. So today is our live for question and answers on Ayurvedic food and nutrition. If you are able to chime in, grab your cup of nice relaxing tea and put your questions in the comment section. So Ayurvedic nutrition is based on principles that can help us get rid of the confusion and the questions and the conflict that comes when it comes to so many other diets and nutrition information out there. So I see some people joining in and clicking. Thank you so much. And so what I'm going to ask you to do, if you have questions, go ahead and put them in the comment section. There might be a little delay by the time I read your comment and by the time you type it. So just stay with it. And as soon as I see a comment, I will go ahead and address that issue. So yes, Ayurvedic nutrition and food. There are myriad of diets and an overflow of information when it comes to food and nutrition. It's a fascinating topic. It holds our attention because we all love to eat. Food is life, and food is one of the ways that we can begin to make positive changes in our life. And it's accessible to all of us. And it is something that we can do today and see what effect it has on our health and our well-being. In Ayurveda, food is considered medicine, which means we look at food more than just the taste. We look at its properties, its qualities. We look at the energetics. We look at the season that we are in. We look at who's consuming the food, what balances or imbalances, more specifically, they're dealing with and what their tendencies may be, or if they are dealing with any specific ailment or a health condition. So that's the magic of Ayurvedic nutrition. I'm going to be referring from time to time my recently released book, Healing Your Relationship with Food. There's a lot of information in here. It not only talks about Ayurveda, but the context is around how Ayurveda can help solve so many of our issues when it comes to diet and nutrition. It also has, a quiz that you can take to find out what your tendency for the imbalances may be. It has how to stock your pantry and how to build and boost a strong digestion, what to shop for. And the word balance, balancing with food, is a big term that we all, strive for, but we're kind of an eluding term because we don't feel balanced. So it talks about what balance really means, not to go on the extreme diets that we are currently presented with. Either it's a all protein diet, no carb diet. There are a lot of restrictions, and it really gets us into a mindset that's more stress producing than the stress from following the diets. It outweighs the benefits in the long run. So I really believe, having been practicing Ayurveda for over 10 years, I really believe that Ayurveda has the answers, that we can use the principles for any diet, for any imbalance, for any specific issue. And we can make sense of it in the, from very easy to very sophisticated. We can begin to understand it today. And each time we understand it a little bit more, until we no longer are confused about food, confused about what to eat. And eating should be enjoyable, not stress producing. And we are lucky enough to be living in the times in the world where so much is available to us. So it's one of the blessings that we have in our life. And let's see how we can use this blessing as a true blessing and really, really kind of understand how we can adjust a few things, become a little bit more aware, and how we can use food as medicine. That's how Ayurveda looks at food. Food is medicine. Medicine is not the drug that comes out of a bottle. It's right in your kitchen. So I still don't have any questions. If you have any questions, since I cannot see you or hear you, the only way I can communicate with you if you type your question out in the comment section, and then I will address this question. I see Hema is here. Hi, Hema. Hi, Susie. Hi, Rita. Thanks so much for chiming in. And if you have any questions, just go ahead and fire away. And that way we can, keep us talking. And, I can continue to share the information with you guys. And I see that Kusum Naibi joined. Thank you so much. And what food should we avoid for arthritis? That's a really great question, Nalini. So arthritis, there are many different kinds of arthritis, but one of the root cause of arthritis is there's inflammation. Okay, there's inflammation that can become localized. So when you think about inflammation, it's, the layman's term for inflammation is the excessive heat in the body that gets localized, sometimes in joints, sometimes in your, fingers or knees or back. It can appear in any part of the body. For many people, it's all over the body. For some people, it's just specifically in one part of the body. So looking at the foods which are heating, so some of the foods that are heat producing are the nightshades, which is your tomatoes, eggplant, cooked without baking it whole, and potatoes, which are acidic, and garlic, overuse of garlic. Although garlic as a medicine can be helpful for arthritis, but one has to assess the state of the liver to be able to metabolize it, and peppers of all kinds, and hot sauces, spicy food, which are going to create more heat in the body. So those are definitely the things to avoid. One of the things that I like to suggest, instead of thinking all or none approach, if you're consuming a lot of those kind of vegetables, then you want to just kind of moderate it. Use a little bit instead of avoiding it altogether. So just slowly begin to reduce it and see the effect that it has on your body. And as far as fruits, any of the fruits that can be inflaming, some of them are the citruses, the sour grapefruit, etc. Over consuming that can be inflaming for the body. And osteoarthritis, that's different than rheumatoid arthritis. There's degeneration of the bone tissue going on. Really, it depends on the state of your digestion. There's no one food that comes to my mind. Same food as would be, you would avoid for any type of arthritis. The same thing would be true for osteoarthritis as well. And another question is, which daily vitamins do you recommend for women? Vitamin D for sure, because we live in a climate which is in wintertime not enough sun. I think taking a multivitamin is useful. And I think some kind of magnesium, calcium combination is a good vitamin to take. For women, especially over the age 40, there's an Ayurvedic herb called shatavari, which can be very, very useful. But I don't recommend that you take a big bag full of, 10, 15 vitamins and supplements every day that overtaxes the liver. So a multivitamin and a vitamin D for sure. And what else? If you need more information, continue to ask. Please, understand that I'm going to be at, these answers are going to be very general. And these answers can change depending on one specific health condition or an imbalance. So I can only answer in very general terms. but taking 1 or 2 vitamins is a better deal than just finding every vitamin that you have heard that's good for you and continue to take it. If you take one vitamin at a time and you notice the effect of it, that way you know if a vitamin is making a difference or not. It's really, when we can't get all of our requirements, our nutritional requirements from food, then we look for the vitamins. We really recommend that you get what you need from the food first and keep the vitamins to a minimum of 1 or 2 a day instead of taking a whole bunch of them. And what should we eat? Sweet and fruits before or after meal? Morning, okay, fruit. Fruits, because of the high content of sugar, best recommended in the morning time. And another, it depends, like, fruits like heavy, like bananas, heavy to digest, is earlier the better. And one of the things that Ayurveda recommends is that you don't eat mixed fruits and vegetables together. So eating fruits with your meals is not recommended, especially when it comes to, and the melons should not be combined with other fruits. Eating the melons alone or leave them alone. That's the motto for the melons because of the high sugar content. The sugar, when you consume fruit, sugary fruit with the meals, it tends to ferment the meals that causes toxicity in the body. And one of the things that I want to point out many times, we are, it's a smoothie world. We like to add everything in our smoothies, whether it's fruits or, vegetables. We combine the fruits and vegetables together. So it's not recommended that you combine them together because the fruits and the vegetables, they digest differently. And what about yogurt and cheese? Well, on one hand, yogurt has a lot of probiotic, but the timing is important. Many times early morning, I know people have yogurt and fruit. It's not recommended in Ayurveda. So when you think about yogurt, it's cold, it's heavy, it's white, it's dense. In the morning time, our digestion really is looking for something warm that it can easily recognize and easily digest, a little gentler on the system. So a yogurt is best consumed during the midday. And if your digestion is not so strong, then I recommend that you make a yogurt drink by mixing 1 or 2 spoons of yogurt with a cup of water, mixing it up and drinking it with your meal to add the probiotics. Hard cheeses are old and they are difficult to digest, like, cheddar cheese, etc. Soft cheeses such as mozzarella or goat cheese is a better alternative. Again, we want to be doing these things sporadically. It should not be part of your everyday meal. And when should we drink water? Before and in between, an hour after meal. Okay, that's a great question because in our culture, we seldom just eat the meal by itself. We always have something to drink with it. We should be drinking, throughout the day and be done drinking, at least 8 glasses of water by about 6, 7 o'clock. The reason being, so we don't stay up all night trying, urinating if we drink water late in the evening. Second thing to understand about water and meals is you don't want to be consuming large volumes of liquid, large volumes of water with the meal. It tends to liquefy the stomach enzymes, therefore dims your digestion. Definitely not cold water with the meal. It doesn't work together. It solidifies what we are trying to digest, process, and move through the system. So a cup of hot water or a ginger tea or fennel tea is recommended with your meals. And wait that is enough, but if you drink more than that, wait at least when the meal is all consumed. Wait about half an hour to drink the meal. And when should I'm trying to read this question. When should we eat sweet and fruits? Okay, I answered that. The water is answered. Juice in the morning, buttermilk in the afternoon, and milk at night. What's your suggestion? Well, on the surface, it looks great. It's a great a little guideline. That would be my suggestion. Juice with being, sweetness in the morning. So you're not, we have all day. We can use the energy from the sugar by living the day instead of late at night when we are not going to be moving much. And then that sugar turns into not energy, but fat. And yeah, buttermilk in the afternoon is fine. Milk at night, milk should be, bring the milk to boil. If you have, you're not digesting it properly, I always boil a little bit of ginger with the milk. You can add a little bit of cardamom after it's done. It's a great sleep aid. It's also a laxative, but just make sure that you're not consuming it cold. And you recommend avoiding dairy for arthritis. You know what? Dairy is a problematic here because of the quality of the dairy products. Secondly, it's a problem because we are consuming it at with meals we should not be consuming it with, and we are the timing of the dairy products that we are consuming. So I don't think you necessarily need to avoid it unless you have an allergy to it. But, to put dairy in your tea is fine. To have a boiled milk with the turmeric milk, actually it's very useful for arthritis because the turmeric is a good way to consume the turmeric with the milk because the milk has some milk fat in it, and turmeric being drying, combining the two is a good idea. And so, unless you are allergic to milk, I don't think there's any problem with consuming milk. However, consuming other dairy products such as heavy cheeses and yogurts, that should be minimized because it's just difficult to digest. Anything that's difficult to digest is going to make the liver function hard, which produces more heat, which means more inflammation. And wherever the inflammation has been conditioned to hang out in your joints, is just going to end up there. So milk in tea and boiled milk is okay, but other dairy products, you should use it sparingly. Hope that answers your question. Susie Morris, what about a good quality whey protein for active women over 50 you know what, I agree with that, Susie. About when women get older, we begin to lose muscle mass. Gravity, believe it or not, it happens. Gravity happens to all of us and it gets a hold of us. So we have to do something to fight gravity in a way. So weight training is highly, highly recommended. And if you are doing weight training, then especially when you're a vegetarian, so we have to be mindful that we consume enough protein. Two of my favorite protein powders are pea protein. Is very inexpensive, and it's it tastes kind of neutral, which means you can mix it in any smoothie. And the other one that I really like is hemp seed protein. And yes, absolutely no problem at all, especially after doing weight training. To have a little bit of a protein drink is recommended. It'll help heal your muscles a little faster. Absolutely. And Nalini, how about wheat-free diet? That's this whole gluten-free, wheat-free diet is a product of our current modern day lifestyle and what it has done to our digestive system. Wheat and gluten is difficult to digest. And also, one of the factors to consider is the use of pesticide in the production of wheat, and that actually has more problems than anything else. So, you know, any wheat-free diet, it'll be very, very difficult if you can do it. I think to buy a better quality wheat and still doing it a little bit, we don't want to continuously avoid things because number one, you know, then the meals lack variety. And secondly, we want to be able to give our digestion a chance to work. If we don't use it and we continuously, you know, eat everything free of gluten, free of this, not only that, you know, the enjoyment factor isn't there, I think that a strong digestion, Ayurveda believes a strong digestion is able to digest even a metal. If we are not digesting and we have any allergies or intolerances, it's not necessarily because of the product, it's because what we have done to our digestion. So if your digestion is really weak, which is, you know, which can be, you know, you can tell if you're feeling there's lethargy, there is weight gain, and there's just sleepiness, and the mood is off, then it's very possible that your digestion isn't working as well. Then you want to opt towards lighter meals, lighter soups, lighter vegetable soups, and perhaps lighter, you know, lighter wheat-free diet. It doesn't have to be completely wheat-free, but you can begin to reduce it. And another question is, what is your opinion about organic food, not only fruits and vegetables, but also other products like organic wheat atta? When possible, I go organic. It's not always possible because every food that we eat, sometimes organic is just not available. Some of the root vegetables and fruits which grow underground, I definitely won't buy them unless they are organic, because being in the ground, and if they're not produced organically, they will tend to soak up all of the pesticides, and I'm then consuming them. You know, things like bananas, which are even, you know, the fact is even there's a question about are the bananas are ripened on the tree they picked up, or they are ripened with gases. You know, I have no idea. We don't have a control over a lot of the stuff, but just to talk about the type of the fruit, because it has a peel. So if you don't have a banana that's organic, that's okay, but inorganic potato, which has been growing in the ground, you know, that I really will buy organic, because it'll tend to soak up all of whatever is sprayed on that soil. And yes, organic wheat atta, why not? If it's available, I go for it. How much it's organic, no one knows. And we really don't have control over that. But whenever possible, I try to buy organic. When it comes to food, my motto is quality over quantity. And, you know, sometimes organic is a little bit pricey, but if you really look at it, I look at food as your best health insurance. So if the organic and good quality food is available, and if it's a little bit expensive, I opt for that because that means less doctor's visits. I'm really, you know, investing in my health, and I don't have to worry about paying for the medications, the hospital stays, and the, you know, all the other medical costs that tend to accumulate as people age. So organic will get my vote every time. And Sarah says, hello, Sarah. Thank you so much for joining in. If you have a question, let us know. And Hema, nowadays everyone is talking about Himalayan salt. Which salt is better? One of the problems with salt is, you know, when they take the iodine out. So iodine is an important nutrient that we need in the salt. I love Celtic sea salt, and I think it's, you know, filled with all the minerals that our body needs. So I use that. I've also used Himalayan salt. I've also used table iodized salt. They're both fine. So again, go ahead, use Himalayan salt. There's no problem with it. But, it's not, I think table salt has just as much. It's still a good product as long as there's iodine in it. And I like Himalayan salt. I like my best one I use is Celtic sea salt. And hi, Ajay. Thanks so much for joining in. And what other question? Which is for frying and also for cooking. Okay, oil. I think that you're referring to oil. So, coconut oil is getting a lot of, attention these days. Coconut oil is great. It is cooling and it can handle high temperature. Having said that, because I said coconut oil is cooling, which means it also in the winter time, depending on your body type, it can tend to solidify in the body. So it's not something that you want to continue to use. In the summer months when it's, you're living in a hot climate, alternating coconut oil with ghee is a good idea. Ghee can also take high heat, although none of the food should really be cooked high unless you are frying. For frying, the oil that I use, it is safflower oil. It can hold high heat and it doesn't go bad when the temperature is turned up. So coconut oil is cooling, but you don't want to continue to use it. You want to alternate it with the ghee. And olive oil is just for sauteing. It's not for high heat, but it's also cooling. And those are the three that I use. You use coconut oil, ghee, olive oil, and sometimes safflower oil. So try those. And frozen vegetables have more nutrition than fresh. I read frozen has more nutrition. I know that frozen vegetables have more nutrition than canned, but I don't know about fresh. You have to also, look at the texture of the food when it's been frozen. Some of the vegetables after they're frozen, they just don't taste the same. The texture isn't the same. So for that reason, only frozen things I will use would be peas and corn, things like that, but no other vegetables. But, we have to be real. Sometimes people don't have time to go buy fresh and cut it up, and it's easier to take a bag full of frozen vegetables, stir them in something, and still have your daily intake of vegetables. So go ahead and do that. If you've got to be real, and it's fine. It's better than canned, but I'm not sure. I wouldn't say that it's better than fresh. How's that? And what about canola oil? I can speak volumes about canola oil, but I won't. The answer would be no. I would not use it. It's, there's my teacher, Dr. Paul Douglas, he told us a huge story about canola oil when we were studying. It's made with rapeseed. It's highly, highly processed. So I really would not use canola oil. And I know that, the name is given to it because it rhymes with granola, makes it sound really healthy, but it isn't. It's heavily processed oil. And actually the article that he wrote was, would you give this oil to your dog? So, so the answer would be no. I would not use canola oil. What did you write, Ajay? I don't understand though. Is good for high blood pressure. What is the word here? Can you retype your question, Ajay, please? So if something is good for high blood pressure. I'm not sure what the word says. KOLOZI. Oh, is that the black, is that the black seeds? It's an Indian spice. Are you talking about kalonji? Is that what that is? Yeah, black seed. You know what? I don't know that. The only time I've used or seen that spice is in pickles. So I think there are many other things that are good for high blood pressure. I don't have the answer to that, but it's a peculiar one. I'll definitely be, sure to check it out. Which oil do you recommend? Yeah, I think we just answered that question. So again, coconut oil, have coconut oil, ghee, and olive oil, safflower oil in your pantry, and you can alternate between them. Yeah, kalonji, I think. Yeah, I think she clarified the question. So yeah, you know what? I have the same question. I never even thought about that. So I'll be sure to check that one and see if that is the case. And oh, I didn't realize, Dr. Douglas, I see him too. Hi, Niveda. Yes, I do. He is my teacher. I studied Ayurveda with him. I'm glad that you are in touch with him. Amazing teacher. Veena, yes. And Hema, black seed, yes. And the question is, can you give some information on eating fish? Okay. This is what I know about fish. Fish is high allergen food. What it is exposed to is not reliable. Having said that, people who really enjoy their fish, they try to get fresh waters fish. They know the source of the fish. So they enjoy it a couple of times a week. If you have access to that quality of fish and you enjoy it, go ahead and continue to enjoy it. I always recommend that any food, when it's cooked with spices, it makes it that much more, not just digestible, but tastier, aromatic, fun to eat. So try cooking it with some spices like ginger powder, fennel seed powder, cumin, things like that, and a little bit of turmeric. That can go a long way. Are the oils you mentioned are good to keep frying? Good for deep frying. The only oil I would use for deep frying would be coconut oil and safflower oil. I would not use ghee, and I would not use olive oil. It's not good for high heat. And okay. Oh, good for deep frying. Yeah, I think I just answered that question. Sorry, I'm getting such on my cell phone here. Okay, are fermented items hard to... Okay. Are fermented vegetables bad for skin allergies? Are you with us suggestions? That's a $1 million question because skin allergies can be many different kinds. You can have, rashes, you can have lesions that are either red or filled with pus. So without really knowing, I can't tell you, exactly, but here's my thought on fermented foods. A little bit is a good idea. Fermented food, if you eat too much of it, it creates too much heat. Skin allergies are related to, any allergies are related to your liver. And so that can transpire into worsening the allergy conditions if you go too much on the fermented food. A little pickle, a little, spoonful of sauerkraut is good enough. We don't need to go heavy on the fermented foods because too much of the same thing that's really good for you can actually be bad for us if we use too much of it. Thank you. You're welcome. And use of essential oil is I hope it works on our health problems. Use of essential oils. Okay. Well, yeah. So essential oils, there is, there's the aroma of the essential oil. It really connects with our memory. So it's, it affects people emotionally. Many of the oils, they have a calming effect and they remember that aroma. So smelling that aroma makes people calm down. So that's how I use essential oils. I don't think, some essential oils, there's like a mint oil or basil oil. Sometimes you have to be careful in applying the essential oils because they're very concentrated directly on the skin because they're very, very concentrated. So the best way that I've used them is to put them in a diffuser or a few drops in a bowl of water so I can get the aroma of that. I'm not sure how far they go in taking care of the skin problems. You have to read the instructions. Every oil is different. If they're highly concentrated, then you may have to dilute them before you apply them directly on the skin. And our next question is, any Ayurveda home remedy suggestions for eczema, like another skin condition? Again, many different kind of eczema, but in general, I would apply, wash my face and pat dry the skin instead of, scrubbing it too hard and using aloe gel. And you first use coconut oil because coconut oil is cooling and just applying aloe gel on the skin so it can hold the oil, can keep people from scratching and inflaming the skin further. And what the recommended for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The recommended time. So breakfast time is in the morning. Many people, before 10 o'clock is breakfast time. It depends on when you are hungry. Many people, when they wake up, they are not necessarily hungry in the morning. And so you listen to your appetite. But what I do recommend for breakfast to boost your digestion is to drink a warm cup of water, hot cup of water with a little bit of lemon, a little bit of honey. That'll get your digestion moving, that'll get your bowels moving, and that's a good way to start the morning. And the lunch should be the biggest meal of the day. Lunch anytime between 10 to 2. And the dinner, earlier the better. By 6, 7 o'clock would be the dinner time. The later we eat, the harder it becomes for the dinner to be digested. So 6 o'clock is a good time for dinner. Many times people, depending on their lifestyle, they eat earlier. 5 o'clock even better. If you have to go till 7 o'clock, not bad. But anything later than that, reduce it as much as you can. Thank you. You're very welcome. And nowadays I see alkaline water bottles everywhere. Are they good for you, or it's just a money-making business? Well, when you put lemon in the water, it alkalizes the water. I am good with that. I think a lot of these things is, alkaline water. These are money-making schemes. There are other ways to reduce acidity in the body if we incorporate different tastes and have a balanced plate when we eat. Then we don't really need to be worrying about getting alkaline water. It's better to look at your plate and see what you're putting it in, see if it's a balanced meal, that it has different tastes, that not too much of one taste and not too little of the other, and how you're combining the meals and the timing of the meals is going to go much further than just getting alkaline water. So that kind of stuff doesn't attract me too much. Thank you. You're very welcome, Hema. I'm so glad you're joining in. And all right. So glad to see all of you guys here. And so I do want to talk to you about the book. If you are, the book that I have written, which I will show here, I'm going to put a link here. I'm, going to be offering this book, a download of it that you can just read on your computer. I'll give you a link in the video above. So be sure to go back, click the link, and get your copy. So the book is really written, it explains Ayurveda, which can be very complex and difficult to tackle in a very layman's terms, and easy to use, and most importantly, easy to implement steps, things that you can begin to do in your kitchen. And it does have things like how to build your digestion, what does a menu look like, what should your plate have, how to stock the pantry, what to shop for, how to combine the meals, etc., etc. So you'll find it really handy, and I urge you to go back and click the link that I'm going to provide you with and get your copy. It's also available on Amazon if you like to get a paper copy, but if you just want to download it, I'll be providing a link for you. Ayurveda recommendations for hair loss. Hair loss, this is what I have learned as far as hair loss is concerned. I think excessive use of shampoos and conditioners is problematic. And dry hair. So get some good quality hair oil that you can begin to use for your hair before you wash your hair. Leave it on for a little bit of the time so the hair and the scalp get oleated. It's good for the health of the hair. And hair and nail is the last tissue layer, it's a part of bone tissue. And how our digestion works, if the digestion is working properly, it will nourish all of the tissues all the way to the bone tissue. So deeper cause of hair loss is really what's going on with the digestion, but I would definitely use oil for the hair. You can even leave it overnight and wash the hair in the morning. I've learned not to use that. You don't want to use excessive amounts of conditioner on the hair, which tend to actually, although the hair feels softer, which tends to weaken the hair. So hope that helps. Can we use more fruit sugar instead of white sugar? I'm not diabetic. I won't even touch white sugar. Instead of white sugar, try turbinado sugar, which is your whole cane sugar, and use it sparingly. The fruit sugars, I know there's date sugar, which is actually very, very sweet. You can get like rice syrup, or I have used even maple syrup or stevia. Stevia and maple syrup combined in my tea or in other things, which has been good. What white sugar is a big no-no. Even if you're not diabetic, there's no point using white sugar. Use something else. Use the other alternatives. And thank you for the hair loss. Okay, nowadays, most of the experts are talking against milk. Our parents used to tell us that milk is the best. If it is bad, then what age we should stop? Yeah, Hema, it's when we grew up, you're coming from India, when we grew up, the quality of the milk was totally different. We treated the animals as part of our home. They were loved. We had control over what they were fed, and they were happy. Actually, I write about that in my book. I write about the happy cows. And drinking their milk is a very different story than getting your milk from the, something like Kroger's, because we just don't know where the milk is coming from. Unless you have issues with digesting milk, I don't have anything against milk as long as you boil the milk. You can boil it with spices. I think that milk is very nourishing. Ayurveda reveres milk. We use milk to take even the herbal formulas because of the milk fat in it. It becomes a medium for us to use the herbs with. So unless you have, it's really a personal choice, unless you have issues with milk, I don't see any reason not to have a warm cup of milk. Even I'm eager to know about the hair loss. So I answered that. Castor oil is good for hair. Is it? Yes, it is. You can mix a little bit of castor oil in whatever hair oil that you have. Just want to remind you that castor oil is very heavy and it's very sticky. So you don't want to put a ton of it because you'll have a little bit difficult time applying it. By using a little bit of castor oil in the hair oil that you have is a great idea. And any other questions? Anything I haven't answered? Hi, Lynn. Hi, John. Thanks so much for joining, you guys. And hi, Marlo. Okay, have I answered all the questions? And any other questions? Then why most of the diabetes experts are saying go for vegan? Because, Hema, the truth is, I think milk products are, because of the lack of reliability nowadays of how the milk is produced. That is one of the reasons. And because of what we have done to our digestion, most every client that I see in my practice, their digestion is very weak and very full of toxicity. So they cannot digest the dairy products. So if there's, unless either, the other dairy products, like I talked about before, whether it's, heavy cheeses and yogurts, they are difficult to digest. Anything that's difficult to digest is going to be, it's undigested, unprocessed, then unless there's, if here's how I look at milk. If you really, really enjoy a hot cup of milk, buy organic, bring it to boil, enjoy it. But if you don't really care for it, it's not the end of all. You don't have to drink it. But if you are drinking it and you enjoy it and you feel good with it, then continue to do so. But just say, ensure the quality of the milk and that you're bringing milk to boil. But if you don't drink milk, you don't care about it, then there's no reason to introduce it into your diet. So that would be my answer. Also, another thing with milk, the milk sugar, that sugar in the milk and the milk protein can bother some people with arthritis and also can affect people with diabetes. So in that case, stay away from it. And any other questions that you may have? And if I have missed any question here, I haven't completely answered them, then I'll be sure to go back and make sure that I've addressed all of your questions. So just come back to the video tomorrow and look at the answers if there are any. But I'm just reading all the questions, make sure that I'm addressing them to a certain level for you. All right, anything else? So just to, give you some guidelines on how to build a good digestion is to cook your food with spices. So when I say spices, I don't mean spicy, chili spices or any spices. There are 3 spices that I recommend, which is actually 4. So make a spice mix, which is a combination of fennel, 1 portion of fennel, half a portion of cumin seeds, half a portion of coriander seeds, grind them together and combine that with a 1/4 portion of turmeric powder and just like a 1/8 portion of ginger powder. If you can use that, a basic spice mix to cook with, that will help your digestion, that'll make the food more digestible. And not to combine. One of the issue with milk, which I may not have addressed, is when milk is consumed with the food, with salty food, like say milk and sandwich or milk and paratha, which is an Indian meal. And so anything salty. So milk should be consumed by itself as a snack mid-afternoon or sometimes in the morning or at nighttime if you enjoy the milk. If you don't enjoy the milk, you're not missing out on anything. It's just learning how to use it if you enjoy it and just tuning into if it's affecting your digestion in one way or the other. For some people who not tolerating the milk properly, you'll know from your, if you feel bloated or just don't feel well, then just avoid it. And thank you so much for your time. Yes, you're very welcome. And so what I'm going to do at this point is, unless you have burning questions, I'm going to go ahead and end the live video. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach me at mpuri@ayurvedichealingcenter.com. Or you can also message me here on my page, on the Facebook page. And be sure to come back to the video. I will put a link in here for you to download a copy, a PDF of my book, which I've showed you before. So this will really open your mind as far as how to think about food and how does Ayurveda thinks about food and how to think about food in a bigger picture so we're not always concerned and worried about the little details. It's really learning how to enjoy the meals and how to use food as medicine. And it's a process, so start where you are. And you guys already know plenty, but I would, ask you that you don't look at every piece of information that continues to come out as far as nutrition is concerned. That we don't have, it's not a good idea to look at a little bit piece of information and think you have the whole picture. So, it's do what you already know. And in order for us to be healthy, we don't need to do a whole list or a whole bunch of things. If we can just remember a handful of things, if we have a handful of recipes to go to, we have a handful of 5 pieces of information that we can really rely on, and we know it's better to continue to use that information rather than reading every bit of news that comes about nutrition that continues to kind of flood the market. It's crazy making. It's written out of context, and we have a lot of variety and a lot of options to better our health. And I think most of us have that knowledge. So it's just learning to trust what we already know, just learning to use it with the trust rather than thinking that we are missing out on something that keeps us in the state of anxiety, always wondering whether we've got it all. We don't have to get it all. We just have to know a handful of go-to things that you can trust. We just need to have understand how to trust our own wisdom, our own intuition, and how to tune into how we feel when we consume a certain food, and trusting that intuition. And if you need any other information, if you're dealing with other health issues, then a general information is going to be more confusing than helpful. Then I urge you to get in touch with me. On my website for new clients, there is a form. There's a health quiz that you can fill out. You can email it to me, and once I get it, I'll be happy to chat with you further to see if you need more help with the Ayurveda and if you wanted to work with me one-on-one for your specific issues. So in the meantime, thank you so much for joining in. I really appreciate your questions. Keep up the good work. And I think at this time, I'm going to end the live video. And thank you so much. Everybody have a good night.